Welcome back, it's me Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. And today we are looking at this. It is the Masters of the Universe Origins Rise of Evil 2-pack by Mattel. Okay, so I believe this is a Target exclusive. This actually came out months ago, but it's been kind of sitting in my review pile for a while. I initially got this maybe, I want to say, a week or two after it was released in stores. At that time, it was very difficult to find. I remember the first week when it came out, I saw pictures of other collectors, buying the set and showing them off on like Instagram and stuff and other social media platforms. And I remember as soon as I saw and realized that it was a Target exclusive, I kind of thought to myself, I'm not going to be able to find that. And then I went to eBay to check out the secondary market prices, and they were like astronomical. They were like, it was like ridiculous. I think initially when this set was first announced, I want to say the suggested retail price was $29.99. But to be honest, I don't remember that being the price in the actual store. I want to say maybe I might have paid actually at the store, I think $39. I think I might be wrong on that. My memory's kind of hazy, but I do remember that like the eBay prices for this, like the first month this was out, it was ridiculous. So you're looking at a toy that was originally marked at like $29, and then you go to eBay that first week, and there are people selling it for I think upwards towards like maybe like $180. But I'm not sure if anyone would pay that much for it, but for me, it was just kind of one of those things where I'm like, man, that's insane. So at that point, I kind of made peace with myself, thinking I wasn't going to be able to find it. But I was lucky. A week or two later, after it was released in stores, I actually came across a copy and I bought it. And the reason why I kind of sat on it for a while is because, I don't know, in all honesty, I liked it a lot, but I already had a Skeletor and I already had a Trap Jaw. So I didn't really feel the need to open it and review it, and for me it was more of a display piece. But then a flash forward maybe like a month or two later, this became readily available on shelves. So it's like for all the people that panicked and thought they couldn't get it, the next thing we know, this is like overstocked, and Targets can't get rid of them fast enough. So there was a certain point when these were just kind of sitting on the shelves. I'm like, you know what? I actually just want a second set just to open, because I do like the package a lot. That I actually want to preserve one copy, still mint in box. So I bought this second copy here, and it's been sitting in my review pile ever since. So when this first came out, all right. So initially it was announced at I think $29.99, but like I said, I don't recall paying that price at retail. I want to say maybe. It was, for me anyways, I thought I might have paid $39 at the store. And this morning I checked on Target.com to see what the current online price of the toy is at Target. And Target had it listed at $32.99. And I mean, that's an okay price. The average individual Masters of the Universe Origins figure, I believe, retails for about $14.99. So I mean, this is a set where if you already have Skeletor and Trapjaw, I'm not sure how badly you need this. For me, I really wanted this just because I wanted, I wanted Keldor. Keldor was something I really wanted. The Cronus was, it was kind of like 50-50, could kind of give or take. I really like Trapjaw, but I didn't feel the need to get Cronus. But here we are. I have the set in hand. We're gonna take a look at this. Like I said, I've been sitting on this for a while, so chances are if you live near a Target, you've seen like dozens of these. It's been sitting on the shelves for some time now. All right, so reviewing the packaging, I love the box of this. It feels nice. It feels premium. It feels like you're getting something really special. There's a beautiful illustration up here. You have the Masters logo at the top, the Rise of Evil, that's the name of the set. And this is the Dark Origins of two of Eternia's evil warriors. So these are the precursors to Skeletor and Trapjaw. So we have Keldor on our left and Cronus on our right. And here they are again on the top in this awesome illustration. Looks great. And then, this is the Rise of Evil. And you kind of see Hordak looming in the shadows up in the clouds right above them. So Keldor is described as the evil apprentice of Hordak, and Keldor is the evil criminal from another dimension. Alright, so when it comes to the Masters of the Universe fiction, the only fiction I'm kind of familiar with is more so the cartoon. You know, there's so many different fictions across the board. You have different animated series. You have a couple of different comic book series. You have I think Image Comics produced a series way back in the day. I think DC's done some Masters of the Universe comics, and maybe, I want to say Dark Horse comics, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I might be confusing it with, I think Dark Horse is the publisher of like the Masters of the Universe books. Like they've done books where they collected like all the comic books, and they've published like a collected graphic novel of all the mini comics. They've done I think books on like the character designs and the history and all sorts of stuff. But when it comes to the actual like this fiction, I'm kind of unfamiliar with, you know, Keldor and Kronis. So I mean that's one thing too. That's why I wasn't as super invested in getting this set outside of getting Keldor, just because I'm not really familiar with their origins all that well. But you know, from a collector point of view, and someone that enjoys it, really cool like fantasy warriors, you know, these just look really cool to begin with. So yeah, the packaging is nice. I love how the window frames the figures and also highlights the additional accessories. Like you get an extra head with Keldor, you get the Skeletor head, you get this power sword, his staff. And it's really striking too with the red in the background. It really makes the characters pop, because these are, you know, these are predominantly cool colored characters against a warm background. So it's very eye-catching on the shelf. On the back, we have another beautiful image up here. We have Beastman, and this looks like more of the Lords of Power Beastman, not the stock retail one. We have Evelyn toward the back, and that Evelyn's not the yellow one either. That's more like the pale white-skinned Evelyn. We have Triclops, and that's that other version of Triclops. I forgot what it's called. That's the alternate costume. And then we have the other merman as well. And they're taking on Stratos, Man-at-Arms, and I believe King Randor is up here. And I don't think we have a King Randor figure yet. Hopefully we'll get one in the future. And here's a brief description of the toys. Modernizing and celebrating the original 80s Masters of the Universe action figures. Masters of the Universe Origins gives you the power to pose Eternia's greatest warriors as retro-style figures, or new action-packed battle positions. So even though these designs are very much inspired by the old 80s action figures of the time, you know, with modern engineering, they're highly articulated. They have better paint application, better sculpting, better detail. So you're pretty much getting like an older styled figure, but with the much more modern toy experience. You know, think of it that way. And in terms of the play features here, they show you how to swap Keldor's head, so you can turn him into Skeletor. And some of the other figures that were running concurrently were Battle Armor He-Man, which I've reviewed, Ram Man, Clamp Champ, Battle Armor Skeletor, and Panther. I believe I've reviewed all of these except Panther. I do have a Panther in my collection, but I'm not sure if I'll ever get around to reviewing it. I don't know. Okay, so let's take this out of the package and give it a look-see. Alright, just bear with me here. I'm trying to figure out how to open. Okay, there we go. Alright, so first impressions of the figures while they're still in the tray. They look awesome. It's kind of surprising to me because even though these are two figures we've kind of technically gotten before, it's really refreshing to see how like a couple of different accessories can make them seem fresh and new again. Like I see Skeletor nonstop all the time. I mean, when I go to the stores, whether it's Target or Walmart, that's all I see. If they have Masters of the Universe Origins figures at the store, chances are all they have is just Skeletor. So for like the past year, all I've been seeing is a Skeletor after Skeletor after Skeletor. But you add a little bit of paint on his armor, you give him a cape and a different head, and it feels like a new guy, and that's kind of cool. Likewise, Cronus, the Origins version, or the prequel to Trapjaw, it looks cool too. Trapjaw was probably my favorite Masters of the Universe figure as a child. Not necessarily character, but figure. I just love the fact that he looked really cool and crazy. He came with a lot of accessories, and for me, I don't know, he was just like perfection for me. And as an adult now, it's kind of cool to get like kind of like a prequel to Trapjaw. This is kind of like his origin. So it's kind of neat to have that. Alright, so let's take this out of the tray. So we have an alternate Skeletor portrait here. And the thing that's different from the standard one, I believe, is the eyes. The eyes kind of have like a bejeweled kind of look. So I'm not sure if they're using like, plastic gemstones or something, or some sort of translucent red plastic, but it looks really cool, especially when it's caught in the right light. It really brings the face to life. And we have another part of the power sword. Let me get this out. They don't make this easy. Alright, there we go. So we have another power sword. This power sword looks different because it looks like it's molded in like a translucent, like almost like a lime green or yellow, and then purple's painted over it, and there's like dust and fuzz on mine. It feels kind of weird. It almost has like a, not that it's tacky, but it feels a little tacky. I'm not sure if it's the plastic material or it might be the paint, because where there's no paint, it feels nice and even, but then towards the bottom where the hilt is, it feels a little tacky. So I'm guessing that's maybe the paint. Over here we have Cronus's rifle. Now, this looks like something that, and honestly, that looks like it was taken out of Star Trek, especially the Next Generation. If you remove these handles, this almost looks like the rifle used in the movie Star Trek First Contact. It's the one where they go back in time and the Enterprise is like boarded by like the Borg, and this kind of looks like the rifle is used by that. It's pretty cool though. I kind of dig this design. It's weird because even though these figures were designed and engineered like in the present day, they're very conscious about giving their accessories a very 1980s aesthetic. Like if you didn't know any better, you'd swear this is like actually like an accessory from like back in the day. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is a new accessory altogether. I don't believe the original Masters figures had a rifle like this. But if I'm wrong, just please correct me on that. But I don't recall seeing something like this before. I might be wrong, though. It's been, I don't know, for ages. Here we have Cronus. He looks really cool. Yeah, his face, it's kind of, I don't know, there's something about his face that's very revolting, but at the same time, the sculpting and the detail is really nice. Like, you could just tell he's a vile character, you know what I mean? Like, this is a guy that's really up to no good. You don't want to be left alone in a room with this guy. And it's so odd seeing, like, you know, Trapjaw with like a normal head and not having like all the crazy like mechanical tidbits on him like his arm. Alright, that just happened. Alright, so if you caught that, his head just kind of like loosely just popped off. So I don't know how well this head affixes to the body. Alright, let's do this again. Let's see if I can get this on. Alright, I think the head's on tight. Yeah, so I'm not sure if the head is just loose fitting, if that's done on purpose, just so you could swap the heads out easier. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that as soon as I took the figure out of off the bubble, his head is kind of like this plopped off. Yeah, it doesn't seem to go on that tight, unless I'm not getting it in all the way. Let me see. I think that's better. No, his head just kind of pops off. His head's kind of loose fitting. It doesn't have that kind of really gratifying pop when you like get, you know, put the head in. Yeah, like that. You see, like this makes that pop, you know, so it feels like it's really locked in, whereas this head doesn't feel like it's popping in. It looks like the actual socket might be slightly larger, which would explain why it's a little bit more loose fitting. But that's weird though. I don't know. Maybe I could fix that later or something. Yeah, because I would prefer the head to actually feel like it's snapping in place. It bothers me that it feels like it's kind of loosely fitted. I do like the cape though. This cape is awesome. Alright, so let's examine these figures individually. Let's start with Cronus first. Alright, so we're gonna take a look at Cronus. So as I've stated before, his face, I don't know, it's crazy. He's really creepy looking. But the sculpting, it looks really nice. The face almost kind of reminds me of like a 1970s, early 80s Incredible Hulk. If you could kind of see that. Which artist am I thinking of? Am I thinking of, I think, Sal Buscema? Is that correct? Whose art style kind of reminds me of the Hulk. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going off a tangent here, but yeah. So the face kind of reminds me of the artist Sal Buscema's interpretation of the Incredible Hulk, I think during the early 80s, possibly. At least that's what I'm thinking of. I might be wrong altogether. Because, I don't know, there's something about the cheekbones and the lips and the brow. But it looks really cool, though. I like this. Like I said, he seems very vile. And I love the fact that, you know, he eventually becomes Trapjaw. And when you look at this figure, there's definitely an emphasis around his mouth. You know, it's like you're kind of forced to look at his crazy teeth. And he has this weird look in his eyes. And he has this crazy kind of like grimace. His helmet kind of throws me off. It looks like a very 1970s sci-fi aesthetic for like a fantasy movie or character. And he has the body armor. You know, the one side covers half of his chest and torso. And it clips in, so you can take it off. And it's kind of cool to see him with like just two normal arms. So in terms of articulation, it's like all other Masters of the Universe Origins figures. His head rotates. arm rotates, they go out. Bicep, bend and swivel, articulation at the wrist. One thing that kind of disappoints me with this figure is that I've been kind of spoiled by the deluxe figures we get, because the deluxe figures always give us that extra hand. So in this figure, you have the splayed out fingers on one hand, and then the other one's kind of that C grip for holding weapons. It would have been nice if they gave you the extra hand that also provided with, the C grip, so you could actually hold his rifle properly. Because if you look here, it's this open hand, but it's not going to be able to grip this other handle correctly. And one thing I've noticed, at least with some of the figures I've gotten, the hands with the splayed out fingers, they're always kind of like bent funny. Now I'm not sure if that's because, when they're stored in the package, they bend over time, but you can easily remedy this. He has waist articulation. Much like the 80s figures too, they kind of pull back on the paint applications. Like, he has this belt over his fur bikini, and they still, refrain from coloring the belt. He has Trapjaw's legs with the thigh-high boot armor. He has a boot swivel and some ankle articulation, but it's hindered by these little hoods at the end of the shin that kind of covers over the top of the face of the foot. So it doesn't allow for full forward or back movement. But that's alright. I can live with that. Alright, so since we're on the subject of Trapjaw, okay, so we have, this is the single release of Trapjaw from the Origins line. And I want to see, I think there's shades of blue. I'm not 100% sure if they're identical. They might be. There's a part of me that wants to say this one is this a fraction of a bit lighter than this one. But it might just be my light. It's so cool though. It's like I said before, it's really awesome being able to see this character as this character. And in all honesty, if you bought another one of these and maybe another one of these, you could probably even create maybe one or two in between figures, almost like an evolution. Just because if you look here, this guy has the fully humanoid arm, where this guy kind of has the cybernetics and the mechanics grafted into it. So in some weird ways, you could actually make a figure that possibly transitions from this one to this one. Give this guy two human arms, and then it's like he's gradually becoming, turning into the monster that we know as Trapjaw. This guy kind of has that heavyweight championship belt with the skull and crossbones. And on the back, there's two notches here. So for his additional arm accessories, you can store them here. Where one thing that I found really interesting with this guy is that he has those similar notches on the back of his vest. So hypothetically speaking, you can actually swap this vest onto this body, and then you can store Trapjaw's additional accessories, not only on his belt, but given the option on this guy's vests. So it's kind of cool that there's kind of that interchangeability in terms of the accessories. The camera's not going to catch this, but at least on my version of the toy, their helmets are different colors. So this guy is a little bit deeper and richer in color than this one. So like I said, you're not going to see that on the camera, but in person, or at least for my toys, this guy's helmet, it's a slightly lighter shade of red than this one. Their legs look to be identical. The arms are not. Like I said, this one's the fully humanoid arm, where this one has the mechanics kind of grafted on. Even the hands are different. Like this one kind of has the armor plating over his hand, where this one's just kind of bare. Yeah, these are great figures. Alright, so if I had to rate this figure numerically on a scale of 1 to 10, my first impression is an 8. But the only reason why I give it an 8 is because I think the possibilities when you start mixing it with the original Trapjaw, I think it really adds a lot more playability to it. and gives you a lot more options. Like, the one thing I appreciate about this is that it's the same character but in two different versions, but at the same time they share a very similar color palette, if not the same color palette. So part swapping is definitely encouraged here, and the possibilities to make different and unique characters is a lot higher. So I like the fact that, you know, that the interchangeability between these two characters is really high. So I think that's why I'd rate this guy like as an 8. But if this guy didn't exist, this guy'd probably be an easy 7. But a high 7. So yeah, I like this. You know, you can swap this chest accessory onto this guy, and it'll still fit this look and aesthetic. You can swap this chest accessory onto this guy, and it has perfect functionality just because you have these extra slots to store Trapjaw's extra like forearm gauntlets. And you can even put this belt on this guy, and it'll work just because he also has the lime green still on the body armor here. So yeah, I mean, across the board, this is a great figure. I can understand why they released this as a 2-pack, because I think selling this figure individually, I don't think not that it wouldn't sell, because I think that like the hardcores would want it. But it's like you really need a Trapjaw to appreciate this guy. Alright, moving forward, we're going to take a look at Keldor next. So Keldor is kind of the precursor to Skeletor. Like I said, I don't know too much about his back history or fiction. And initially, when I thought I wasn't going to be able to find a Keldor figure, I was just contemplating making my own. I was just going to buy one of like hundreds of like Skeletor figures that we see on the racks, and I was just going to do a head swap and make my own Keldor. You know, I just find like maybe some sort of Mattel action figure that had like long hair and a goatee or beard, and just repaint it and make my own Keldor. But luckily, like I said, the set became readily available, and I didn't need to resort to that. So we have Keldor here. Alright, I think for the sake of this review, we should pull out Skeletor just to like do a side-by-side comparison right off the bat. Okay, so we're going to take this one out to, this is Battle Armor Skeletor, and then this is the plain Skeletor that we all see at Walmarts and Targets that's just chilling there because everyone already has them. So, okay, so in terms of the flesh tones, I want to say I think they have to be identical. It'd make no sense to remold this in a slightly different color when there's so many of these out there. There's a part of me though that wants to say this might be a hair darker than this, but that might be my lighting. In terms of the accessories, it's definitely evident that the body armor on this guy's a darker shade of purple than here. Wow, I didn't notice this either. One thing that kind of takes me back is that this guy actually has bracers on his forearms, where Skeletor does not. This guy kind of has the normal humanoid forearms, whereas Skeletor kind of has the webbed forearms. You see the little fins here. So that's really interesting. I would love to have a Skeletor like this, like plain Skeletor, but with like properly colored gauntlets on his forearms. Because I think the bracer looks really cool on the forearm here. He always looked kind of bare and naked without it, and over here it just looks, I don't know, it looks awesome. But the accessories are the same, with the exception of the colors. Like, you're getting the same chest armor, but like I said, this is darker and has further paint applications. Like, it has the bats colored green, the gemstones colored like a magenta. This belt and this little, like, I don't know, crotch flap thing, that's like same mold, just different colors. And the boots are different also. Skeletor kind of has those webbed monster feet with like the fur or feathers, whereas this guy just kind of has the plain old, it's almost like the swashbuckling kind of boots. This guy has a cape, which I think is awesome. Let's get that on here. Now, one thing that kind of annoys me is that so the cape's on here, and then the long hair. But since the hair is so long, and yeah, the cape, it really kind of hinders the movement of his head. He's not going to be able to look up as high. He, you know, if anything, he's just going to be looking forward. But even then, you know, with slight movement of the cape, his head's always just going to tilt in. Like, if I was a kid, I'd probably remove the cape. But if, you know, as an adult collector, and, you know, if you're going to display this, you're probably going to want to display it with the cape. One thing that bothers me with the cape also, it doesn't seem like it's a natural fit. So, like, around here, where the two cape ends are latched together, this kind of like rope, it kind of always just rides up. It doesn't stay flush with his chest. You see that it always pops back up. But for all I know, this might be a reused cape from a previous line, like maybe it's taken from the Classics line. In terms of the other portrait, as I mentioned earlier, we have new Skeletor head with like kind of bejeweled eyes. So whereas these eyes are painted, these are actually different. Like the eyes are actually, they appear to be a separate plastic piece inserted into the skull. And it's cool because you're actually getting 3 different expressions here. You know, this isn't the same head as these two. So we have this head with the bejeweled eyes, very neutral look. The stock Skeletor, his mouth's kind of open. And the battle armor Skeletor, he has a much more grimacing look. Likewise, another difference with these heads is that the hood that covers this skull completely wraps the skull underneath the chin, as you can see here. Whereas these hoods, there's actually a gap underneath the chin, so it's not fully encased. Oh, I take it back. This one is. I take it back. This one actually is. I'm not sure if I could get it off. Alright, yeah, so I take it back. I stand corrected. This hood is actually closed at the bottom, whereas this one's open. Now, Battle Armor Skeletor came with another head. I don't have that with me right now. And I can't remember what the expression was on that one. But since we have his head off, you know, for fun, let's just swap this on here. Yeah, so that's awesome too. You know, it's so cool that like the addition of like an extra head can like present so many different play possibilities and options. So here you go, you can create a new version of Keldor. The one thing that kind of annoys me is that even though the flesh tones of the body are either a perfect match or at least they're very close, I kind of wish the armor stayed a unified color, just because you can't necessarily swap this head onto this body just because it's such a darker color purple. I mean, you could, but it'd be nice if it actually matched. I think you could get away with it doing it here, though, because I believe this shade of purple is closer to this. It's not a perfect match, but at least it kind of falls within the same hue. So if you wanted to, you could, you know, do that, which is a cool look. But Skeletor, this is, I love the fact that you could give Skeletor a cape and then give him this cool head. Yeah, so for me, this is a very deluxe Skeletor. It's not the OG Skeletor that we all kind of grew up with. You know, this guy kind of really fits the bill. But if you want to think in terms of a much more modern take on Skeletor, you know, if you want to envision your Skeletor being a little bit more detailed, a little bit more menacing and darker, this is really cool. But it's crazy how a changing color scheme and just a slight different facial expression can almost create a different vibe for a character. Like, I look at this feels very lighthearted, a little bit more cartoony. But then you look at this, and this seems a little bit more grim, a little bit more dark. It's almost like this is the cartoon version, and this could be like some sort of like, you know, feature film version of Skeletor. You know, just because he has a darker color palette. But yeah, I like the idea that, you know, we get Keldor. I just kind of wish the head would pop in. You know, if it's this, I don't know, this feels kind of weird. And the nice thing with Keldor, you know, much like I was complaining with Cronus, is that with Keldor, we're at least getting 2 C-grip hands. So he can actually hold the power sword and his staff in both hands. Okay, one thing I just noticed also is that so this power sword is actually a complete power sword. It's not the power sword where it's only half a power sword and you put them together. This one's actually whole. If you look, it's the same on both sides. So that's neat. And it's missing that weird handle that, you know, the He-Man swords always had, which I kind of like. I mean, I kind of like the fact that it's missing that weird handle. It looks cool when the sword's just like this. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. So for this guy, if I had to rate this guy numerically on a scale of 1 to 10, my first impression, honestly, I was gonna say a 10. That might be a little bit too generous. If anything, I'll just say a low 9. At least with my toy, one thing that bothers me is, like I said, the head kind of pops off a little bit too easy. Like, I do understand that the play feature of this is to be able to swap out the heads, but I would have preferred it if it was like a nice solid pop, you know, when I put the head on. But it could just be my figure, you know. I love the fact that he comes with, you know, the sword where it's completely whole. It's not the split sword. I like this sword a lot because it doesn't have that weird handle at the end. Plus, the effect is cool too, like how it's casted in like a translucent lime green, but with the addition of paint, it makes it look like it's a magical glowing effect. I really like that a lot. The fact that it comes with a much more premium Skeletor portrait is awesome. Like this is nice. It looks awesome, but to go that extra mile and give us like these little tiny jewels for eyes, this brings the character to life and adds a little bit more expression to it, especially when the light just catches the eyes just right. The Keldor head looks awesome. I love the expression. It's very awesome. The choices in color here are cool too. Like, as I stated before, I just kind of wish that they were consistent across the board in terms of the armor. You know, if they're, you know, either stick with this light blue purple or go with this dark one. Just because, you know, it's all about the interchangeability. You know, like with Cronus and Trapjaw, it was cool that the accessories are within the same color range, so you can actually swap them and they'll still look good. This guy is kind of like you can still swap stuff, but it won't match. You know, like it would have been nice if you could actually use these feet on this body and vice versa. But just because they're different colors, it's not going to flow as well. But otherwise, you know, outside of those tiny little, like, you know, nitpicks, I really love this figure a lot. I think it's really awesome. So if you can find this in stores, which, you know, most likely you can, I think it's worth a purchase. Even if you do have a Skeletor in your collection and a Trapjaw. Just because I think if you pass up on it now, I think you might regret it later. You know, it doesn't hurt to have another Skeletor figure in your collection, even if it's just for the sake of part swapping, you know. So yeah, I love these figures. They're awesome. I highly recommend them. Just be aware of, you know, how much you pay for it. Like I said, they're readily available at many Targets right now. The 2-pack with Cronus. So, you know, if you see it in stores at a reasonable price, just get it. I don't think you'll be disappointed in it. Let's get these all on here. Okay, so once again, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for all your comments, likes, and support. You know, it means a lot to me. So until the next video, be safe, take care, buy lots of toys, and just enjoy your life. All right, talk to you later.